What up? Welcome back to the show. Week 9. We have our live show. I know last week I wasn't able to hop on, and I do apologize about that, but we are back at it here. I'm going to pull up the screen here so we can start talking some DFS. Before we get to that, I just want to make known if you do have any questions in regards to fantasy football for your home leagues, make sure to write down the PPR, if it's half PPR, how many teams are in your league on the comments below. Let's get right to it. We're going to get right into this and talk about the quarterback position. I'll kind of break down some games as well. As far as the quarterback position, I always like to make known the type of contest that I have. It's a fantasy football millionaire, 1 million up top. Obviously, big contest, 161,000 people are in it. I am more of a single entry, 3-entry max guy, but I always love throwing one lineup in this here, just in case you happen to have that one lineup that goes crazy. There's nothing worse than feeling like when you have that lineup and you didn't put it in one of these kind of contests and knew that you would have made life-changing money. But let's get to it. We got Josh Allen on this slate, and this is pretty simple. Josh Allen versus the Kansas City Chiefs. We expect this game to be hopefully more of a shootout game. Kansas City has been playing lights out as far as offense goes, and they are getting healthier. Their defense has been a little bit easier to attack, very different from the previous years. Now you can attack Kansas City a little bit more. Josh Allen, the hardest thing about playing Josh Allen is trying to figure out who to play alongside of him. With trade deadline coming around, NFL trade deadline, I'm really hoping that they can find some way to get Chris Olave. I think a guy like Olave would be phenomenal for the Buffalo Bills. But anywho, Josh Allen in this type of environment, and I'm going to get right into more of like what type of build you're going to be looking at today. There's going to be like that chalk build where most players, and by most players, I'm talking about daily fantasy players, are going to be playing. There's going to be a lot of cheap running backs. So Josh Allen, I kind of like playing him alone. I think the idea of playing him alone might be better off today with some of the options that we have. I do not like playing him alongside James Cook because I always feel like they're very script dependent. So usually if James Cook is going off, it's rare that Josh Allen is. I know it has been previously. I believe last week was a good example. Josh Allen had a good week, and James Cook absolutely went nuclear last week with those multiple touchdown games. But typically in this type of game environment, I kind of like to decide on one or the other. And again, I'll get to why when it comes to the builds. This is daily fantasy thoughts that I'm giving you guys. Obviously, if you have James Cook in your lineup, you're starting him. If you have Josh Allen in your lineup, you're starting him. Those are guys, clear guys that you are starting today. And then we have Patrick Mahomes on the other side of this game. Now, Mahomes has some weapons that I'm more intrigued by. Rashee Rice is probably the easiest play when it comes to that team. We're seeing not only his target share goes up, his snap counts go up, and this is a guy who wasn't injured. I think people forget that. They think that he was out for multiple games because he was injured. I've heard this before in conversation. He was suspended. So he was out for those games because he was suspended. So he's been healthy. So it's just really cool and really good to see the type of workload he's getting now. But I don't mind playing a Josh Allen lineup with Rashee Rice and kind of correlating those two in that way. And now I'm going to get right into that running back talk because I'm going to have to mention him since I'm talking about this specific game. Kareem Hunt, that's going to be the big play today. I know a lot of people are wondering as far as like, chalk-wise, Kareem Hunt, Travion Henderson, and Kyle Monangai. Those are probably going to be the three guys you're going to see on a lot of builds. So obviously there's ways to get different today. You don't have to play all three because in each daily fantasy lineup, you're starting two running backs and then you're utilizing your flex for the other running back. So it feels like a 3 running back slate. If you're a person who likes to throw in a lot of entries and a lot of different lineups, then, obviously you can get a little creative, kind of build ones without 3 running backs. But as far as the running backs go, those are the 3 running backs. You can build all 3 together. if you're playing more of those cash lineups. But as far as tournament goes, I think there's ways to get different and kind of making. I think that the more popular guys are obviously going to be Kyle Monangai and Kareem Hunt. And then in third, I would probably rank Travion Henderson because there's a little bit less familiarity with him, because this season it's been a lot of, well, this is a Travion Henderson spot. And then we see Antonio Gibson. This was obviously before he got hurt. And then you've had Ramondre Stevenson, no matter how many times he fumbled that football, would still get back in there. And he was always in good favor with Vrabel and staff. But we do not have Ramondre Stevenson on today's slate. He is out. So that means Travion Henderson, this is a kid coming out of Ohio State with a ton of upside, was drafted high in the early second rounds of the NFL draft. He was a pick that was viewed as very high because of just the type of burst he has. And he was actually a really good pass protector as well in college. He has not looked that way right now in the NFL. I expect those things to change. I mean, the guy literally has a highlight reel from college showing how good of a pass protector he is. I know that's one of the concerns that he's having currently in the NFL. I expect all that stuff to change real soon. He's a rookie running back, and I know that usually is a little harder to trust for guys like Vrabel and kind of staffs like that are veterans. When it comes to that, I think that Travion Henderson offers the highest upside out of those three guys that I mentioned, and Kareem Hunt and Kyle Monangai. Kyle Monangai, one of the reasons why he's a popular play today, and obviously DeAndre Swift is out. He's also 4,600. It's very hard for him to beat you at that price point. He also has a very soft matchup. I mean, you can tell here by the ranking, 32nd overall for the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals defense are one of the worst defenses in the league, and so are the Chicago Bears. I expect and hope there's a lot of points in this game if you're playing fantasy and you have players out of either team. So Kyle Monangai seems to me more of a lock play today in daily fantasy. I'm not trying to get cute and fade him. And in regular season leagues, home leagues, he's the type of player you should be prioritizing, in my personal opinion. And he's going to be over a lot of people. So if you have one of those questions, please feel free to put them in the comments below. When you see kind of volume like this on paper, this guy's going to have, I mean, he's got Travis Homer back there, who's more of a special teams player, used to play for the Seattle Seahawks back then. I don't expect him to be utilized too much in that backfield. And they also called up Britton Brown. Again, these are guys that I don't think are going to be taking too much away from Kyle Monangai. Kyle Monangai should have a really healthy role. I think right before this, in this game, I was projecting somewhere around 35% if DeAndre Swift was healthy. Now with him out and the way Monangai has been playing and they've been utilizing him a little bit more, I expect them to have a somewhat of a bell cow roll, and at 4,600, that is too hard to fade. Again, also in your regular season home leagues, that is also a guy I should be throwing in there and playing this week. All right, so I mentioned Kyle Monangai, I mentioned Kareem Hunt and Travion Henderson. The guys up top, right? Out of these guys up top, Jonathan Taylor, listen, no matter how many times you try to get away from Jonathan Taylor, and I'm talking about daily fantasy, because obviously in regular season leagues, you're obviously starting him, and he's probably been doing nothing but wonders for your fantasy football teams, and you're probably at the very top, just let alone with a lot of these tricks that he's had. 3 touchdown games. He's had 1, 2, 3 games with 3 touchdowns. He's also had week 8 where he had 3. Receiving as well, right? So you have the rushing and the receiving. I mean, this guy's been doing it all. He's been doing it all. It's been crazy. But his price is now at $9,800. You have to consider with the salary caps, it's a $50,000 fake salary cap that you have to fit all these players within. I think it's a little harder to kind of fit Jonathan Taylor, but then again, now with all this value opening up with players like Kyle Monangai, Kareem Hunt, and even Travion Henderson at the cheaper price point, I expect a lot of people to fit this man right in going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. What wouldn't surprise me today, and again, I can eat my words once again, I don't plan on playing Jonathan Taylor, and every time I've done that, it's eaten me alive. But I do expect at some point, especially with a price point this high, it's going to be a little bit harder for him to reach that value right here, or to reach that multiplier and to get the amount of fantasy points needed to pay off that price point. And I think today might be one of those days. I think today, if you're not going to play Jonathan Taylor, I am a real big fan of playing a guy like Daniel Jones today. It's crazy, right? Daniel Jones, 6,200. Literally a few years ago, no one's talking about this. No one's mentioning him, but Daniel Jones has been playing really great football for the Indianapolis Colts, and I expect them to have a really strong game today. Would not surprise me if Mike Tomlin's game plan for today is to figure out one way, some way to stop Jonathan Taylor. Now, that defense has been a bit overrated this year in the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it would not shock me if he's doing everything he can to find some way, somehow, to neutralize and stop a little bit of what Jonathan Taylor's been doing on a week-to-week basis, and literally just let Daniel Jones beat him on this day. So I really like Daniel Jones. I think Michael Pittman is a really strong player to play with him as far as wide receiver goes and pass catchers go. And then obviously Tyler Warren, who's been playing lights out this year. Tyler Warren is 5,500. His price has been going up, but I do like this style of matchup for him today. So with Daniel Jones, you have him. Josh Downs has been ruled in, so he's going to be playing today. He's also an interesting option, but I wouldn't go probably too far away from the Pittman and the Tyler Warren. Awesome. All right, so Chicago and Cincinnati. I mentioned Kyle Monangai, and I will mention we have Joe Flacco in today, which is great for his pass catchers. Wide receiver, Jamar Chase. Listen, y'all, as most of you guys know and have been watching the shows and videos, I'm a Bears fan. And one thing I do know about this Bears team, we do have Tyreek Stevenson coming back, which is good. He's played much better than what he started this season. So he's played better, but that doesn't mean that this is going to be enough to stop a man like Jamar Chase. They like to line up Jamar Chase everywhere along the field. It's not just on the perimeter. They like to put him in the slot as well. And they're going to move him around. They're going to make it difficult. I don't expect Tyreek Stevenson to shadow. And even if I did know he was going to be shadowing Jamar Chase, I'm all over Jamar Chase. And I'm already all over Jamar Chase today. 8,400 is not a bad price. I saw a stat that was mind-boggling, and it was basically in the last 2 weeks, I think it was, since Joe Flacco's been there, and I'm pulling up the thing. Yeah, he had, it says 54 of those passes, 42 targets over the last 2 weeks, and if you put that into perspective, it was like about a 51% target share in just the last 2 weeks alone. Literally, even with T. Higgins on the team, which is already a strong player on the opposite side, and I think T. Higgins is a strong asset for today. I think T. Higgins is also going to be riding all over Nahshon Wright, who can't defend anybody. So I think that this passing attack is going to be very strong today. And the fact that they have Joe Flacco is going to be strong for them as well. And it's going to do well for guys like Chase and T. Higgins. But yes, Chase is such a strong play to me for daily fantasy. I'm not worried about his price point. And I think that he's going to be someone that I'm going to be locking in today for my DraftKings lineups. All right, on the Chicago side, I mentioned Chase, right? And I mentioned T. Higgins. Chase Brown is okay too, but I don't think you need to get to a Chase Brown as far as the Cincinnati Bengals goes. But as far as the Bears go in this game environment, I want to mention this game environment because this is going to be one of the more popular game environments just simply because of how bad those defenses are. Well, you have Rome Odunze, who's been playing really well, had another good game this past week. Rome Odunze, strong. These 2 weeks here, there was a lot of missed opportunity, and that falls on Caleb Williams as well as Rome Odunze, who dropped a pass or two. But there was moments here. There was a touchdown reverse. I believe it was in the Washington game, if I'm not mistaken, that could have changed all these, and he could have literally been in double digits. Rome Odunze is having a monster second year. I expect them to have another big game today. We have Rome Odunze. Luther Burden is out. Cole Kmet is back in. I think that this is sneaky. I know you probably mentioned me here, talk about Colston Loveland. At some point, Colston Loveland is going to have a strong game at some point. It's just due. It's due. And given his draft value and where he was drafted for the Chicago Bears, he's going to have that. And what other day would it be than the type of matchup that he has in front of him with the Cincinnati Bengals? I think if there's any week, it will be today. So then those are the names I mentioned. And then obviously Kyle Manungai. If you want to play Caleb Williams, it's a bit different today for sure. He's still at a cheaper price point. He hasn't shown up in some of these games. I believe in the last month, he's only thrown 2 passing touchdowns, which doesn't make you feel good, especially after how he started strong this year with 8 passing touchdowns in the first month. So hoping that we're going to see something different for today's game. As far as fantasy goes, I think that with this type of matchup, anytime we're looking for matchups, these are the type of matchups that you want him to do well in. So if you have Caleb Williams in your home leagues, I don't think it's a bad start today at all, given the matchup and the depth that they have right now in the backfield with no DeAndre Swift. It's still been a very heavy run-first team, but they're going to need to lean in on their quarterback. And at some point, he's going to have to bring back what he started off with at the beginning of the season. All right, next game I want to mention is Minnesota and Detroit. And real quickly here, in a few minutes, I'm going to start answering some of the questions. So if you have any fantasy football questions, please let me know how many teams, if it's a PPR or half PPR, just to help me answer the question the best way. Minnesota and Detroit is a game that's going to go very unowned. We have JJ McCarthy back in this game. He's very cheap, $4,900. I'm not very interested in playing him, but if you're playing multiple lineups and you want to get something to possibly win $1 million, that might be the way to go about it. But I'm not taking that type of risk today, but I don't absolutely hate it. I think Detroit's defense has been playing a lot better. They got their pass rusher back, McNeil, who's been looking really good as far as since he's come back, and it's helped boost this defense. The secondary has been still an area where people have hit on, especially with the corners, not so much the safeties. They have really good safeties on this team. But Detroit is the team that I wanted to talk about most here, not so much Minnesota. But Detroit, the reason why, because I think that one of the best plays on today's slate is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown versus this type of defense, the Brian Flores defense. These are the type of defenses he plays really well in. Amon-Ra St. Brown is he's having a really great season, especially for fantasy. We have here last week, he scored 20 fantasy points, another high price point with Jamar Chase. But again, if you're paying down at running back, you might be able to stick 2 studs like this in your lineup. And it's going to go really based off of how you manage the other value plays. Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I think Jahmyr Gibbs is another strong play. Again, if you want to do something different today and not pay cheap for running backs, you could pay up for the running backs. And you can get guys like Christian McCaffrey, who to me right now has probably one of the best matchups today as far as high-priced players goes. Christian McCaffrey has been playing lights out, and he looks, as far as volume goes and as far as workload goes, he's getting the same type of volume and workload that we are accustomed to seeing him in. And we're expecting big numbers once again. Look at this, all 20 fantasy point week in, week out, other than this past week versus a really strong Houston defense. I expect Christian McCaffrey to be a really good play today and garner some ownership, because I think some people are going to kind of flirt around with how many of these cheap guys are going to be playing. Kamani Vidal is also a really good play down here. And I mentioned Gibbs, Christian McCaffrey, and there was one more I wanted to mention. I know that Rico Dowdle is expected to have a bigger workload today. So if you have him in your home leagues, he's not a bad option to start, playing a really tough Green Bay run defense. But with, he's been the better running back overall as far as him and Chuba Hubbard goes. Tyron Tracy and Jalen Warren were the other 2 names that I wanted to mention. We have Tracy versus the San Francisco Giants defense that's been a little bit depleted given the recent injury to Camp Scatterboo. So Tracy is an interesting play today, especially with the ownership now going all down to the 3 guys I mentioned earlier in Kyle Manungai, Travion Henderson, and Kareem Hunt. And I don't even think Travion Henderson is going to garner as much ownership, because I think that's that third piece that people are going to be moving around to grab higher priced players. Tyron Tracy, Jalen Warren has a really good matchup today versus the Indianapolis Colts as well. Let me fly through this real quick because I want to answer some of y'all's questions. I mentioned some of these wide receivers. Brian Thomas Jr., I needed to mention him real quick. We're waiting for that big game. He only had it once, right? Week 6. We're waiting for this Brian Thomas Jr. game. We just got news Travis Hunter's been placed on the IR. Got a great matchup today versus the Las Vegas Raider. If there's any week to show us the type of upside and the things we fell in love with when we drafted him early second round, late first round this past year in our home leagues, this should be the game that we see that, and with more attention to him. A cheaper player in this matchup as well for the Jaguars is Parker Washington, who's played really good, especially right before the bye. He's had a role even with Travis Hunter there. Without Travis Hunter, I think he's going to have a more solidified role, which helps for sure. Ladd McConkey's in a really good spot. And then I mentioned Michael Pittman Jr., DK Metcalf. I'll mention him, and then I'll go straight to tight end. DK Metcalf is too cheap, y'all. Too cheap. 5,500. He's earning a 25% target share. Right now, this is Aaron Rodgers' guy. He's going straight to him, and if you expect this game to kind of shoot out, right, and that's what we're hoping for, this is the guy you want to have today, for sure. Aaron Rodgers is going to be looking his way a ton. Tight end position, we're going to keep it real simple here. You don't have to go too low. I think if you go low, I think one of the guys that you can consider, I know I kind of do Colston Loveland out there, but he's 3,300. That's really up to you. It's more of a risk play. But Theo Johnson is a great play today. Got a really good role. Jackson Dart is 5,200 if you're looking for a cheap quarterback play. Theo Johnson is a really nice pairing for him. And then you have other tight ends here. Brock Bowers is back. He's priced appropriately. But if you expect him to be as healthy as we're all hoping he is, especially after missing the last couple of games so he could get right, this should be a really good matchup for Brock Bowers versus this Jacksonville Jaguars team. George Kittle is also right in that bucket. I mentioned Tyler Warren, and if you want to chase this Tucker Kraft game, he's the main guy over there, but they spread the ball around a lot over there. But, man, after this big game here, I'm going to just say this played – I mean, obviously, he's very talented. He's a top tight end in the league. But I want to say that this type of outlier here, that this performance that we saw had more to do with the National Tight End Week. Cool. All right. So that's the tight ends, wide receiver, running back, quarterbacks. Defenses, I think that you're paying up today for like the Chargers or the Lions. Getting too cute down here might hurt you just to save money. I don't think you really need to save salary today to build your lineups. I would kind of stick right around this upper tier and kind of get the defense that you will need to get. All right, let's answer some questions here, y'all. Again, appreciate you guys for hopping on. Make sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get to the first question here. Zach, thank you for joining the show. Manungai or Parker Washington? We were just talking about this. If this is, honestly, it really doesn't matter if it's a PPR or half PPR. I mean, if it was a half PPR, for sure, Manungai. PPR, I'm still leaning Manungai, especially after everything I told you. On paper right now, this is just such a great matchup. He's got such a great role, and he's not going to have a lot of people to compete with in that backfield, or anybody, to be honest. Danny, Marrero, Kittle, or Kraft, PPR, Shakir, or one of these tight ends, same league. We're now starting both tight ends for this week matchup. Kyle Manungai or QJ, PPR, Joe Flacco, or Mac Jones. For this Joe Flacco, Mac Jones, I'm going to say Mac Jones. I really like Mac Jones matchup versus the New York Giants. Kyle Manungai over Quentin Johnston. And then between Kittle or Kraft, I'll be honest, Kraft. I'm going to go Kraft here. And it's not because of Kittle's upside. I always like to make this known. Kittle's back, and that's been huge as a run blocker for Christian McCaffrey. One of the things that does bother me about George Kittle is not that he's not good. We all know this. And they also call Tucker Kraft baby George Kittle. But is that George Kittle usually is used, Kyle Shanahan uses him a lot as a blocker. So today could be the game he doesn't catch a lot of football. Or today's the game that he does catches a lot of the receptions for this team. It's so hard. It could be 50-50 on a week-to-week basis. I'll go with Tucker Kraft, who feels like he's more consistent and is kind of the guaranteed number one guy right now for the Green Bay Packers. Thank you so much, Danny. Julio, thank you for hopping on the show. Danny Dimes or Jackson Dart? Man, this is a good question because I do like Jackson Dart's matchup as well. And Danny Dimes, man, after what I just said about Let's go Jackson Dart. I honestly think this is a flip of a coin because I think that Daniel Jones offers a lot of what Jackson Dart does in terms of rushing ability, but Jackson Dart's been a little more consistent, and I expect them to have to be, being utilized a little bit more. They're not going to really lean in on their run game. Daniel Jones has Jonathan Taylor to lean in on versus Jackson Dart having to lean in on Tyron Tracy. So let's go with Jackson Dart. Andrew, T. Higgins and Drake May are in all of my DFS lineups. Yes, Drake May, man. Drake May's been just incredible second year, and he's just so hard not to play on a week-to-week basis in your fantasy leagues as well. Doesn't the first 8 games support Loveland? Not much all this year. Yeah, but I think that Loveland overall, as far as volume goes, it's going to have to tick up. We've been waiting for it, expecting it. And I think game plan wise, Ben Johnson's going to have to start drawing something up for the guy they drafted over Tyler Warren, who's having a really strong season. Andrew's got another question. 12-man full PPR, start 2, sit 1, BTJ, Diggs, Pittman. Wow. All right, Pittman for sure. I really love his matchup today. BTJ, I'm going to go BTJ over Diggs just because we got the news of Travis Hunter. I love Stephon Diggs' matchup today. I really do, but they do spread the ball out a little bit. But I do think this is the type of matchup Stephon Diggs does well. But to answer your question, let's just go Michael Pittman and Brian Thomas Jr. I like both their matchups, and I think I would rank them just like that. Pittman, BTJ, then Diggs. All right, we have No Limit Soto, Caleb or Daniels at QB today. Oh, man. Caleb's got a great matchup. Daniel Jones. Let's go with Daniel Jones. Or wait, Daniels. I apologize. Jaden Daniels. Yeah, let's go Jaden Daniels. He's back. I know he's got a tough matchup versus the Seattle Seahawks. They've been playing really good. I think that he's going to be – they're going to need him. That run game has been all over the place with Bill Krosky-Merritt, and then – they're just kind of rotating a ton right now. Let's go Jaden Daniels. I like Jaden Daniels in that. You got both in a keeper league, he says. Ryan, hi. Harvey, Henderson, or Hubbard, standard. Henderson. Henderson out of those 3, just because he has the most guarantee. We just found out Rico Dotto is over Chuba Hubbard. RJ Harvey had a great game last week. I really want to see how he looks this week if they start utilizing him a lot more. I don't like the matchup versus the Houston Texans, especially for J.K. Dobbins. I'm not in love with this matchup for J.K. Dobbins. I actually have some unders on his rushing yard props today. Henderson just has the clear role right now. We're hoping that no one comes in and messes that up. All right, Ernie Torres. We have Travion, Chuba, Shaheed, or Kraft at Flex PPR. I'm going to go back and say the same thing. Travion Henderson has a full workload. I'm going to lean on Travion Henderson. He's also very friendly to the PPR. I have some overs on his receiving yard props today. I think we're going to see a lot of that, and that's something Drake May did a ton in college. He would lean in on guys like, who was it? Javonte Williams and Michael Carter. Those were his 2 running backs. Those were like his 2 favorite weapons in college. So yes, Travion Henderson, let's give that a shot. Usually the lean would be Tucker Kraft there, but I think that the volume that Travion Henderson has is kind of hard to just fade this week. We have John Gomez. Thank you for hopping on. Bam or Henderson, full PPR. I'm going to go Henderson here. I do like Bam's matchup for sure. We're hearing word that Amari DiMarcado is going to start getting some more looks again. They bringing up Michael Carter. I just don't trust this backfield right now. As good as Bam's been playing, it's just not a backfield that you want to trust right now. And I think that we're really hoping, especially for those Trey Benson owners, that Benson should be back about a week or 2 now. But yes, Henderson, roll. We're going to lean on it. This has to be the week, y'all. And I know those are usually the last famous words, right? So let's hope for that. John has another question. Cortland Sutton or QJ? Cortland Sutton, 100% here. Cortland Sutton is ranked a lot higher for me. Andrew, 12-person half PPR, Monangai or Travion Henderson. Wow, that's the question of the week. All right, I'm going to lean in Monangai here. He's definitely, if we have to lean in on something, it's just Mike Vrabel trying to throw something, a wrench at us and throwing us off with, who's it? Terrell Jennings, the other running back that they called up, and then Ernest Johnson. I don't know. I feel really good about Travion Henderson, but in this type of 1v1 here, I like Monangai. I think Monangai has already shown that this staff really likes him as well. Caden, we have half PPR, Debo or Etienne. We just got word, I think right before I hopped on the show, and I could double check in a second, but Terry McLaurin is out for this week. I like Debo. Debo's going to get the big workload once again. And then I do like Jaden Daniels to kind of come in there as well. So let's lean Debo. I know it's half PPR, but ETN has not been playing the greatest either lately in the last couple of games. Would not surprise me if you start seeing Bichelle Tootin come in, and I think he's an interesting stash if you guys have room in your benches to start stashing a guy like Tootin, because I think eventually he's going to take over or ETN gets traded, and we have a few days left before this trade deadline. Debo is my lean. No, I can't wait to see the Ernest Johnson. I'll touch Henderson today, especially since I'm starting Henderson. Yep, that's how it feels like, especially in fantasy, right? It's like playing Monangai today and then just random seeing Britton Brown all of a sudden be the guy that they wanted and trusted. Can we trust Puka's involvement today? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they kept him because of the bye as well, to make sure he was strong and healthy. So yeah, Puka's the main guy, and Puka's the best wide receiver in fantasy football right now next to JSN. We had a few games of him out, but he should be back to that. John, Monangai or QJ? Monangai over Quentin Johnson for sure. And then Crispy, Jordan Love or Jaden Daniels? Man, that's a good one. I am going to lean Jordan Love. I do think that offense is just playing on a really good pace. I think it's a really good matchup for Josh Jacobs as well. But man, this is back or forth. Man, you know what? I'm going to switch that up. It's a flip. I'm going to go Jaden Daniels because you can lean on his rushing ability. And I just think Jaden Daniels has been out many games. He's going to have to come back at some point and start playing at the level we're used to seeing. All right, y'all. I really appreciate all of you guys hopping on. Thank you for all the questions, and really hoping you guys get an opportunity to beat your matchups for today. If you're playing daily fantasy, love to meet you guys up at the top of the leaderboard, because that is my hopes as well. Yes, thank you guys. I will be posting my new video this week for the waiver wire show. Please make sure to check it out, like, comment, and share it with others. I'm gonna put in one more question here. Julio has Love or Bo Nix. I'm gonna go Jordan Love there between those two. But thank you guys so much. It's been a great stream. Take care and peace.